vậy giờ tao nhai đi vào. Mình làm ăn là đi vào đây. Con này. 什么呀？在屋里从 A 到港的。Juga lah milu.
Hello everyone.
Good evening. Good evening to everyone in Myanmar. Good morning.
Good evening.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Evening.
Kathleen.
Morning.
Okay, let's look at constructivism. Just going to adjust my camera a little bit. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the third major learning theory. Oh, there's a little bit of background noise.
Oh.
I'm just going to, okay. Make sure to mute yourself unless you're talking, just because the background noise gets to be a lot. I might just mute everyone for now. So make sure to unmute yourself when you do want to talk. It's just a little bit hard for me to tell where the background noise is coming from. So yeah, this is the third learning theory that we're going to look at. These are the three main learning theories, I would say, around education. After this, we're going to get a bit more specific into learning theories that are relevant for adult education. So these are just general learning theories for everyone of all ages. And then after this, we're going to be looking at the adult education and teaching adults learning theories, because most of you are university instructors, so you're teaching adults. So after this, we will be getting into teaching adults and how to teach adults. So, objective. Participants will be able to explain constructivism and evaluate it as a learning theory. So that's the objective for today's class. Community guidelines. I'm sure most of you have heard these before, but obviously we are happy if you are here. If you are late or have technical issues, please join the conversation as you are able. Mute yourself when you're not talking, but please remember to unmute yourself when you do want to talk. We want to be able to hear everyone. So please complete the pre-session self-paced interactive slides. They're not mandatory, but they are quite useful, and they have extra information about the topic, as we cannot fit everything into 1 hour. So if you do the interactive slides, you'll get some extra information on the topic, and those are emailed out. They're on the Facebook group, and they're in the Google Classroom, so you can access them there. Also, please fill out the post-session feedback forms. We do look at all the feedback after the classes and do try to make some adjustments. Some things are just not possible for us to change, but we do make sure to read through all the feedback and to try to incorporate in what is possible. If you have questions or technical issues during the session, obviously I can't fix your internet, but you can send a message in the chat box, or you can email us if you would like. If there's something I can help with, then please you're free to ask for help. But obviously, there's some things I can't help with. So my name is Lisa Vance. I'm from Canada. And I previously was in Myanmar, and I did some teacher training there. I've also taught English, I've done environmental education, that type of thing. So I will be doing the trainings today. My co-host is Kathleen, and she designed all these slides. So Kathleen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Kathleen Griley, and I help Lisa make the slides for the asynchronous interactive activities and the slides for these meetings on Saturdays. I have worked as a teacher trainer, as an English teacher, and as a Spanish teacher.
Awesome, thank you. So how well do you understand constructivism? So not at all, a little bit, somewhat, quite well, or extremely well. I'm going to stop sharing. So if you can turn on your video and show people, that would be excellent, just for a second. If it's not possible, you can also put it in the chat box. So 1, 2, 3, how well do you understand constructivism? Okay, so kind of that varies. Looks like it varies a little bit depending on the person. A little bit, lots of 2s, some 1s in the chat box. It also depends if you took part in the Burmese session earlier, because obviously I assume if you took part in the Burmese session, you already have a better idea about constructivism. Okay. What does the word construct mean? Just by itself, what does it mean, construct? So not looking at learning theories, but just by itself. Nope. You can tell me in the chat box as well.
Build.
Right, did construct mean build?
Build, yes, definitely. It means to build something.
Yeah.
Make, create, build. An idea
Yes.
of theory containing various conceptual elements. Yeah, construct. Organize. Create. Establish. Create, yes. I'm just going to mute now because there's some background noise. To draw, set up. Yes, definitely. Definitely, yeah. Start something to know or learn. To form. Excellent. Making a foundation. So why do you think construct, or why do we use it as for a learning theory? Or does anyone have any ideas of so we're talking about construct and constructivism. Why is it called constructivism?
Build of knowledge and experience.
Yes, definitely. Excellent. Making a foundation, develop meaning from prior knowledge. Good. So yeah, you're building on previous knowledge. So you kind of start here and you're adding to it. So we're talking about knowledge and learning. You're adding constantly to it. So that's kind of what this learning theory is about. Does anyone know anything about the history of constructivism? Okay, so it was started in the 20th century. It's a quite new learning theory. I would say it started a little bit later than cognitivism, and it's kind of based on, but kind of I think a similar period of time as cognitivism, and it's and the two main kind of like philosophers or theorists on this were, I'm going to mispronounce their names because I've only ever seen them in writing, but Piaget and Vygotsky. I don't know how to pronounce it, so my apologies. They're not. But Piaget said how you learn is influenced by your own unique experiences and ways of thinking. So this is like your own experiences you then build on, and that influences how you learn. So everything that you learn is influenced by your past knowledge, and you are building on that past knowledge. Vygotsky talks about how learning must take place in a community. So you don't just learn by yourself. You interact with other students, you interact with your teacher, maybe at your job, you interact with colleagues, you know, you're always interacting and socializing. And this is kind of this community that you're learning through and learning with. It's not just an activity that you do by yourself. I mean, sometimes you read a book by yourself, but it's always about interacting with others. Even, I guess, reading a book, there's a level of the person had to write the book for you to read it. So you're interacting and socializing. So there's a lot to constructivism. So if you Google constructivism, there is a lot to it, and there's some different ideas in it. But we're going to kind of look at 4 main principles of constructivism. Does anyone have any suggestions of what the 4 main principles might be? Yeah, active learning, definitely, that's one. So we previously have talked about active learning. So I would say active learning is very important part of constructivism. Does anyone else have it?
Sharing learning.
Yeah, sharing.
Sharing learning.
Definitely. Sharing learning with others is definitely very important. Social learning, learning in social. Good. Anyone else?
Different kinds of learners.
Yeah. So
different perspective.
Yeah, different types of learners, and all learners have different perspectives and they have different knowledge. So all learners have different knowledge, as well as they're just the way that they learn, how they learn is unique. What they're interested in is unique. Learning based on what they already know. So good, that comes back to the title, Constructivism. We're building on what people already know. What is their previous knowledge? Diversity, yes. So that's, again, like, people are different. Everyone is different. The knowledge I have is different from the knowledge you have. And it's a good way we can, like, learn from each other. Performance learning, good. Discussions, discussing and sharing, interacting, engaging, learning by doing, yes. Active participation and thinking, definitely. So I think that covered most of the 4 that we're kind of mentioning. Learners build on a foundation of what they already know. So if you have this knowledge, then you build on it and you build on it and you build on it. So that's where the term constructivism comes from.
Learning is active, learning is social. All learners are different.
Yeah. Yes. And learning is active. So we talk about active learning. It's not just like physically active, mentally active. So it's kind of like you're using your brain to think things through. And learning is social. So, and sometimes that's social with your peers, with your other students, other participants. Sometimes it means being social with your teacher. So, what's it called? The zone of proximity. Did I say that right? Which is the idea that if someone knows this much, like you want to kind of interact with the teacher in a social way and have the teacher almost act like a facilitator. So the teacher is not telling you what to do. The teacher is a facilitator trying to support the participants or the students learning, and try to facilitate them and move them towards learning. And if they struggle to help them where they struggle, but not make it too simple, but just kind of scaffold and make it so that the students are able to learn the knowledge in the correct way. So that's part of being social. It's both with the other students, but also with the teacher as well. And trying and not having maybe as much hierarchy, teacher-centered kind of ideas within the classroom or within the training. And also what's mentioned is all learners are different. Everyone comes with their previous knowledge, previous experiences about what they've already learned, what they want to learn, why they're interested. So everyone is different. And we'll get a bit more into this when we get into specifically adult learning theories. But this is very important, especially for adults. So children might have less information, like children haven't learned as much. So it's still important for children, but they haven't learned as much. But by the time people are adults, you know, they've already went to school. They have lots of information. So you can learn a lot from them. Like there's a lot of information that all of you guys can tell me. Like there's a lot that you know that I don't know. So it's about more sharing knowledge than it is about with a child, just giving them knowledge. And like I said, it's important for all learners, but especially important to recognize in adults. So I'm going to read an example, and then if you want to tell me what principle is illustrated. Students do not already know how to use English idioms. The professor gives notes, provides activities, and answers questions. The students then know how to use English idioms. They were able to learn only with the help of the teacher. So they couldn't learn by themselves, but the teacher helped support them. Which principle does this illustrate?
Active learning. Active learning.
Number one.
Let's go back.
Past participle. The first participle.
Origins of, but they already know.
I think first principle.
Okay.
The principle.
I would say I could see the first principle.
First principle.
But also I would say part of this too is talking about the teacher, how important it is to have the teacher there. So so I would say it's also learning is social, because not just, like I said, with people that you work with, but it's also that the last line here, they were able to learn, they required the teacher for help. So they had to interact with the teacher and socialize with the teacher to get that help.
Principle 3.
So yeah, I would say learning is social for this one. But it can also be other things, like all of those activities are required to be active. Okay. Mimi Win wants her students to understand how electricity flows in a circuit. Instead of lecturing or showing a video, she gives her students circuits to experiment with. Which principle is illustrated? Which one?
One. Active learning. Learning is active.
And that's maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say active learning.
Principle 2.
Yeah, so active learning. I think this one shows active learning. It could also be if she got them to work in groups, it doesn't specify. Maybe it is also being social if they work together in groups on this project, but it doesn't specify. Yin Ung and Sui Than are both learning advanced calculus. She did very well on her pre-calculus course, so she learns easily. And Sui Than almost failed the pre-calculus course, and now he is struggling with this course as well. And also,
3 and 4.
Foundations of already know all
And
knowledge.
take for this situation, the fourth.
3 and 4.
The fourth.
yeah, I would say 1 and 4.
Will be concerned with for this.
Yeah.
The situation.
So this maybe is 1 and 4 a little bit. So I would say mostly 1. So it's like that one person had, so it's that they are different, but one person, they're trying to build on their previous knowledge. So if you do not have that previous knowledge, you cannot build on it. So you need that previous knowledge to be able to do better, to learn more. It's kind of a requirement. But also they do have to, they enter with, you know, each person is unique, and you have to think about that as well. Gives the history. Gives the history class a lecture on the independence of Myanmar. The majority of students understand and appreciate the lecture, but the students who come from minority ethnic and language groups do not agree with the professor's perspective. So what is this? Which one?
4. Principle 4.
Yeah, this is number 4.
Yes.
Yeah, this one's the easiest. So everyone has different perspectives, especially if you come from an ethnic group or you have a different language background, your perspective might be different. And as the teacher or the instructor or lecturer, you have to think about this. You have to realize your students might have different perspectives about situations and realize that that's okay. And one of the criticisms, I'm just going to mention it, sometimes one of the criticisms of constructivism is that it's too accepting of different opinions. That there's sometimes no right or wrong because there's lots of different
Learning
opinions.
is social.
Yeah.
Behavior presents are based on stimulus and response. Cognitivism, according to the previous learning and knowledge. Constructivism is a bit of knowledge and experience. I think like that.
Constructivism is a kind of negotiation. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just gonna mute. Yeah. So we talked about behaviorism. Obviously, not all of you were there, but behaviorism is more just like a stimulus or an automatic response. And constructivism views that not everyone will have the same response to a given stimulus. We all have different knowledge and different experiences that we bring, and we build on that knowledge and experience as talked about. So we won't react the same way. We will all react differently. Cognitism. So with cognitism, it's talking more just about what's in the brain. So constructivism also talks about, you know, like what's in your brain and learning, but it also talks about the social context. So in addition, so cognitism just focuses on the individual. Constructivism kind of also focuses on the individual and how they learn with others. So how they socialize with others to learn, and also how they build on previous knowledge and how they're different in that regard. Okay. So in groups, you will create examples to illustrate each of the 4 principles. So we had some examples here of the different principles. So you're going to make your own examples. So learners, oh, I'll just open it up and show you. Okay, so in your groups, learners build on a foundation of what they already know. So think of an example. So my example, what could I do? So I'm trying to think. So an example.
For
Yeah,
example, they could build the equation, the area of cylinder, and their foundation, their prior knowledge is they have already know the area of a circle and the volume of cube.
Excellent.
Based on this knowledge, they do and do the group walk, and they construct the equation of the cylinder volume.
Excellent. Awesome. That's a very good example. Okay, so that's what you guys can do. I'm going to put you in groups. So we're not going to, I know in the Burmese one you did it all together, but I'm going to put you in groups to come up with your examples. And I'll give you about 15 minutes to do so. Here is the pear deck. So choose one person to share and write down your answers. And then afterwards, we will discuss. So we will create how many rooms? We'll create 5 rooms. So there'll be about 6 people in each room. And it's just going to assign you automatically. So Kathleen, you'll have to come back. Okay, if you have any questions, just hit the help button and we can discuss. 15 minutes. And open all rooms.
Hello, Lisa.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Did you have a question? Sorry. You can also type in the chat box if you want. Or if you're just saying help.
Lisa, and my connection is often unstable, so I didn't realize what you asked us.
Oh, if you join the group, then to create some examples of the 4 principles. So just work with the group to come up with some examples. One example for each of the principles. So yeah, just work together to create them.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello again. Yeah, I mean, if you're able to.
Yes, teacher Lisa, what will I need to do?
So yeah, if you just
Yes,
join.
I have something.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you just work with the group and then come up with examples with the group. But if your connection's not very good, that's okay. Just see what you can do. see. So I saw some people had written down some answers. I'm just going to go through it quickly because we don't have a huge amount of time. But the first one was learners build on a foundation of what they already know. So let's see. So in the practical room, students do the practical of the arteries and veins in the frog. I mean, I think that's true, but also think of like what knowledge was that based on? So what did they learn first? So maybe they first learned about the arteries and veins, and then afterwards they did the practical on it. So think of how their previous knowledge added to was required or has been built on for their current knowledge. So equations, basic terms and terminology, theorems, do's and don'ts, precautions, MSDS. So I take it that maybe this is meant like this is the foundation of what you need before you build on more knowledge. So yeah, you need to have maybe an understanding of basic terms and terminology before you can get more in depth in a subject. So you need, obviously I don't know all your subjects, but you need year one, say math, to be able to do year two physics. You know, you need your math skills to then be able to do physics. You can't just jump straight into physics because someone would not understand how to do it. Handling of chemicals and doing experiments in the laboratory. So yeah, so maybe you first want to teach how to do it before you have someone do it. Basic learning for testing materials. So yeah, maybe give them the basic theory first, and then afterwards, how to handle chemicals and doing it. Good, this is also a good way before a lesson, teachers can give a warm-up activity and elicit questions from learners what they have already know about the topic. And then teachers let them create mind mapping relevant to the topic. That's excellent. It's good to figure out what your students already know so that you can properly build on it. Because if you try teaching them and it's either too difficult or too simple, it doesn't make much sense. You want to get, again, Kathleen, sorry, is it the zone of proximity or what's?
Zone of proximal development.
Zone of proximal development. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't remember. But you want to get that kind of middle ground. And the best way to do that is to figure out what your students already know and how you can best build on that and support them with that. Zone of proximal development. There we go. Thank you. So group presentations, share knowledge and discuss with peers, movie series review, share their feelings and previous occurrences. So yeah, that's talking about their previous knowledge and experiences, and then you can build on it. Good. Learning is active. We've talked a lot about active learning already, so it should be a little bit easier. Constructivism transforms the learner from passive recipient of information to an active participant in the learning process, always guided by the teacher. Good. Group discussion, role plays, problem solving, graphical presentation, create new things, design models, peer assessment. Good. Those are all examples of active learning. Problem solving through discussion, Kahoots, Mentimeter. Good. Group work and pair work, excellent. Jigsaw activities, quizzes, mingling, think, pair, share. Those are all good learning, active learning activities, pair work activities, peer review, assignments, role play. Excellent. Those are all excellent. Learning is social. Problem-based study in social community, potential competencies, project-based. Yeah, so you're interacting with the outside social world. That's good. Interactive activities such as group work and pair work. Excellent. Group presentations, discussions, group projects, surveying, excellent. Group work, feedback, designing, writing projects, good. Think, pair, share, excellent. Discussions, peer learning, activity like spider web in which students interact with each other, good. Social learning, Yes, excellent. All learners are different. So yeah, you have diversity, language barriers, social capacity skills, disabilities, different levels of thinking. So we talked about diversity and inclusion, and that can be part of it. And also just different levels of learning, different knowledge, different backgrounds, different learning styles. Good. Signing the writing homework with their own ideas. Yeah, so have open-ended kind of questions and work so people can incorporate in their own experiences. Okay. So some of you have mentioned it, and we'll try and go through this quickly. But what are some examples of constructivist activities, like classroom activities? There are lots out there. Does anyone have any examples? You can put it in the chat box or tell me.
Inquiry based.
Group air discussion.
Yep.
Inquiry based teaching.
Yep. Inquiry-based teaching, group discussions, mutual teaching. People talked about think, pair, share. Think, pair, share is a good example, I would say. Jigsaw is a good example. Questioning, problem solving. Yeah, so there's lots out there. We're going to look at reciprocal teaching, inquiry teaching, problem-based learning, and cooperative learning. So we're just going to look at those 4 very quickly before we run out of time. In this constructivist activity, students ask lots of questions, then the teacher guides them to find the answer to their own questions. They learn about things that they are interested in. What is this an example of? Which type of activity?
Principle 1.
I would say it's more inquiry. Inquiry means like searching out or questioning. Inquiry based. Yes. Inquiry based.
Inquiry based.
Yeah. Inquiry means like asking questions.
Yes.
In this constructivist activity, students teach each other. The teacher assigns groups or individual students different topics to learn about. The students then teach each other the content. What is this an example of?
Learning is social.
Unity should cooperative.
Reciprocal.
1 and 4.
Reciprocal teaching or cooperative learning.
So reciprocal teaching, I would say like reciprocal is back and forth. Usually I just call this teach each other. You're teaching each other. Another example of how you can do this is with a jigsaw. So a jigsaw is an example of reciprocal. So you can do reciprocal where the groups teach, or you can do reciprocal where you mix up and people teach each other in groups. So there's different ways you can do reciprocal teaching. In this constructivist activity, students work together. The teacher may assign groups or let the students choose their teams. Either way, the goal is for students to learn in a community with one another. So what's this called? Or which one?
Cooperative. Learning.
Yeah, and there's lots of different ways to do this. Pair work, group work. A lot of the other ones are examples of this. So maybe as part of your inquiry-based learning, you work in groups. You know, so you can incorporate this into a lot of different activities. And you can decide how structured or not structured you would like this. Students try to solve a real world problem. Their learning is directed to meet this one goal. They can see the real world application of what they are learning. So this might be like a case study or a problem that they have to solve.
Program-based learning.
Yeah, problem-based. This one's a little bit, for our classes like this, it's a little bit difficult for us to do problem-based learning because we only have 1 hour and we don't build on the classes very much, which is a little bit sad. We can't do very much problem-based learning as much, but we still try and bring in real examples or try and elicit ways as much as possible. Okay, excellent. So we're going to look at some examples. I want you to choose which one it is, which activity. Okay, so we're just going to do this very quickly. So is this an example of reciprocal teaching, inquiry-based learning, problem-based learning, or cooperative learning? Students in advanced biochemistry class are assigned 4 different readings. The professor tells them to read, summarize, and criticize the article. The next day, the students form groups of 4. Each member of the group has read a different article and they teach each other about the article. So I'll give you 1 minute to answer. Ten more seconds. Okay, excellent. So most people chose reciprocal teaching, and that's what it is. There's different ways to do reciprocal teaching, but this would be a good example of a jigsaw activity. So someone mentioned a jigsaw. So jigsaw, I like jigsaws for reciprocal teaching. They're a little bit difficult to do online, but they are quite useful to do in person. Okay, next one. Try and get through these quickly. Students in the beginning civil engineering read about the clean water crisis. They learn all about the problem. Then the professor instructs them to design a system to clean the water. The students will then vote on the best system. What is this an example of? So I'll give you about a minute to answer. Okay. 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Problem-based.
Yes, definitely. This is problem-based learning. So you have a real example that they're trying to solve. Lots of different ways you can do this, but yeah, this is an example of problem-based learning. Okay. Next one. After the students choose the best design, they must work together to build the model. The professor offers guidance and support, but the students have to organize themselves, set deadlines, and check their own work. They are given 1 grade as a group.
Cooperative learning.
We'll just wait another 15 seconds to have people answer. Okay, cooperative learning. Yes, this one's pretty easy. Working together. Again, lots of different ways you can do cooperative learning. Sometimes people call it collaborative learning. Cooperative learning and collaborative learning. I think collaborative is a subset of cooperative learning. But if you do hear collaborative, it means usually the same thing or very similar. Okay, students in advanced English composition class are reading British poetry. After they read each poem, they brainstorm lists of questions they have about the structure and meaning. They choose the best questions and conduct research to find the answers. What is this an example of? Ten more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So yes, it is inquiry-based learning. So inquiry is like asking questions. So you get people to ask questions about the topic. Okay. So what do you think? Do you agree with the theory of constructivism? Why or why not? So does anyone want to share their opinions either in the chat box or if they want to tell me? Do you agree with it? Why or why not? And what else did I say? What do you think?
Yes, I agreed with this theory because it's consistent with the student-centered teaching learning. Yes.
It's affected because this method consists of comprehensive teaching and learning.
Yeah, it's quite comprehensive in how you, in what it considers or thinks about. Anyone else? So it can develop students' critical thinking abilities. Excellent. Yeah, this is aroused thinking abilities. Yeah, so it's quite good for critical thinking skills and to try and develop critical thinking skills. Effective in learning, active learning, influences students' learning, can help students get prior knowledge in social learning and constructs new meanings. Yes. Yeah. And obviously, like not criticisms of it, but like I mentioned, one criticism is that sometimes it's too open, it's too unstructured. So you do have to be a little bit careful that this sometimes students still need some structure. So you still need to scaffold and add structure sometimes as the instructor. And then the other criticism sometimes is that it forgets that sometimes we do need to memorize. So sometimes it is useful to memorize information. When I was little, I had to memorize my multiplication tables. So there's still some information you need to memorize. So that's kind of why it's important to understand, in my opinion, it's important to understand all these three learning theories because it's important to understand when you should be using them and what you can use them for. I agree, learners learn better by engaging, interacting, and socializing. Yes, definitely. But yeah, it's good to have a wide range of understanding of the different learning theories, where they've come from, how you can use them, that type of thing. So how well do you understand constructivism? Not at all, a little bit, somewhat, quite well, or extremely well. So if you want to turn your video on, or you can put it in the chat box. 1, 2, 3. How well can you understand constructivism? Okay, awesome. So it looks like people are understanding it quite well, which is good. Or at least 3.
Yes, quite well. Yeah, understand this quite well.
Okay. So course feedback, I'm going to put it in the chat box. Sorry, we're over for time a little bit. I know it's difficult to fit it into 1 hour. Do, do, do. Why is it not? There we go. Copy link. So I'll also be emailing out the feedback, but here is the link for the form right now. But I will also email it out. And I will also email out the invitation to join the Google Classroom, which you are more than welcome to join. All the slides, all the videos get posted on there. I usually post them about Sunday my time because I have to wait for the videos to convert, add them to YouTube, edit them, that type of thing. So it does take a little bit of time, but I do add them every week. Next week, we're going to be looking at experiential learning. So I actually, maybe I don't probably do enough of it here, but experiential learning is one of my favorite learning theories. And I really like experiential learning. So I'm excited to talk about it next week. And the syllabus can be found in the Google Classroom. There's a rough draft on there. And here are our resources if you would like to access them. You can, when I add the slides, you can take a look at them and then read more about the information if you would like. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I'll stay for another minute or two if you have any questions. Other than that, thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye. See you. Doesn't seem to be any questions, so I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you very much.